Here we have verse 63 of the 6th chapter of the Gospel of John. We're at the end of the Bread of Life discourse. Jesus is having an ongoing conversation here with these who are rather surprised and confused at the grandiose claims that Jesus makes concerning himself. Especially, he's insisted that in order to have life within them, the life that will give them life forever, they must eat his flesh and drink his blood. But here we have a very important verse that in some ways sheds light on the entire conversation and makes clear the sense in which when Jesus speaks of eating his flesh and drinking his blood, he's really speaking of something that is deeply embedded in the reality of spirit rather than some sort of tactile or tangible or physical idea. So we have to, the neuter, nominative article, to pneuma, the spirit, and so the spirit, esten, third person singular, present active indicative of is, a, me, I am. So the spirit is, and then to, same as here, the spirit is the, and then zoopoion. This is a combination of a couple of words. We have zoe, the word for life, and poieo, which of course means to make or to do. This is the present active participle, nominative, singular, neuter, going back to spirit, which is neuter, and it's nominative because it follows after esten here as a predicate nominative. So the spirit is the life-giving one. The spirit gives life. The source of life is the spirit. The flesh, of course, in and of itself is just so much clay. It's not alive at all. The whole notion biblically of the work of the Spirit is to infuse this place with life. Not only the life that we enjoy biologically, but even life of any quality whatsoever. Plant life, animal life, all life really is tied to the presence of the Spirit, and in the greatest sense of all, of course, what we think of as spiritual life. So the life is, or the Spirit is, life-making, life-giving. He sarx, this is the feminine nominative singular article, the sarx, feminine noun, the flesh, uk ophele. This is ophele, it is from ophaleo. It means to profit, to make a profit, to make a benefit or something. Here, of course, it's negated, so we're seeing the flesh does not profit. This is the third person singular, present active indicative, does not profit, and then uden, nothing. Really a double negative if we translate it directly, but of course Greek permits what English prohibits. The flesh does not profit anything. The flesh, of course, in this sense, is referring to the fully human aspect of our existence. We are of this earth. We are made of the dirt of the earth, you might say. We're formed of the earth, and in and of itself, the earth is dormant. It's not a living thing, but the life that comes to the flesh comes through the Spirit. So the flesh, in and of itself, is not profitable with respect to life. The Spirit is life-giving. The flesh doesn't profit anything. And then this fascinating statement, ta rhemata, the words, rhema, of course, the neuter word for word, the plural here, ta rhemata, the words, ha, the relative pronoun, which, ego, lelakeka, this is the first person singular, perfect active indicative, so it's from laleo, to speak. And so the words which I have spoken and am speaking would be the force of it. The words which I have spoken, humen, dative of the second person pronoun, to you, pneuma, spirit, it is. These words are spirit. A neuter noun, of course, can take a singular article, and that's what we have going on here. The words which I speak to you, spirit is, literally, spirit, these words are, and that's the whole point. Jesus has told them they need to eat his flesh and drink his blood, and yet the fact of the matter is that the life-giving potency of that which he has described is related to his words and not simply to some sort of physical right as such, and thus they are spirit, kai, zoe, esten, and it is, or they are life. Somewhat reminiscent of the theology of John Calvin, who speaks of the connection between word and sacrament. He, of course, insisted that the sacrament was the very heart and core of the experience of worship, and yet he also insisted that the word was primary, meaning the word needed to come first. The word, in a sense, is the life-giving component that is going to give life to the experience of the sacrament. Otherwise, the sacrament just becomes an empty ritual. And thus there is this close connection between the two, and it does seem that what Jesus intimates here is something that points in the direction of that connection between the life-giving words of Jesus and the sense in which those words infuse the sacrament, the eating his flesh, drinking his blood, with life.